Welcome to Democratic Television, a program of the Santa Clara County Democratic Party that brings insights, perspectives, and attitudes of our always thoughtful guests. Today we're interviewing Dana Bainbridge, the founding director of Recovery Cafe San Jose. Dana, thanks for being on DTV.
Thanks, Steve. It's great to be here.
Cool. Well, we want to get to know Recovery Cafe. It sounds like a great organization. But before we do that, we want to get to know you a little bit. So, where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the Midwest in the great state of Iowa, home of the Iowa Writers Workshop.
Oh.
And yeah, so that's where I grew up. And then I spent a large portion of my adult life in Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, okay. Welcome to the West Coast.
Thank you. Been here about 6 years now.
Oh, okay. Well, it's great to have you. So when you were growing up, did you have any sense that you were going to, found an important institution in San Jose to help save lives, or were you just thinking, if I can only get into the workshop, I'll be happy?
Oh, actually, yeah. Even then, I wasn't even thinking about the writing, but I was kind of more of an outdoor person. I was really into sports and things like that, and I thought I was going to be a teacher, actually. So, but sometimes life takes us a lot of different directions.
Boy, that's for sure. And we'll talk about that later, too. How about school? Did you have any heroes that you looked up to, any public figures or fictional figures that you thought, if I could only be like them, or?
I think some of the local people were just more growing up, especially in college and all, just people who were mentors, friends, guiding people were more my heroes, actually, and continue to be, actually, people who have kind of ordinary lives but live very courageously and generously. So I've been lucky to have a lot of great mentors and people willing to pass on their wisdom to me, and I've been always kind of eager to learn. So, I don't know that I had particular, heroes in that sense. My heroes were regular people.
So you just kind of paid attention to life.
Yeah.
So you are a reverend, a minister. Tell us a little bit about, so you finished college and then you did something.
Well, I grew up actually in a family who didn't care about any kind of spirituality or religion a whole lot. It just wasn't on the radar a lot, but it was on mine for some reason. It was sort of like I had this curiosity about spirituality and God, and yet I was not in a tradition or involved in a church that really allowed women to do a whole lot. So I didn't meet my first woman minister until I was in my mid-20s. I didn't even know they existed.
Oh.
And then I became one not long after that.
Oh, really?
So I just didn't know it was possible. And so I was fortunate, again, to have a lot of great clergy women I got to know who were really taking leadership in new ways in the church.
So you were a pioneer, in a sense. You discovered a community that worked for you and sort of redefined what religion could be. Yeah.
And well, I got some great mentors, like I said, other clergy women who were good friends and colleagues, and some men who were really progressive and really wanted to see women shine in the spiritual community and be free to use their gifts and talents in whatever way they wanted to. And so I went to seminary in Nashville, Tennessee, and got to live in community in a house there with a lot of people in my tradition, and was there I got to know Will Campbell and some other people who did some really progressive things in the South in Nashville during the Civil Rights movement and all, and so it was there that I really started, and in my years at the University of Notre Dame too, a lot of the Catholic social progressives had a huge impact on me in their teaching. Joan Chittister, Daniel Berrigan, and others, were just were there and speaking about issues, and there were a lot of things I'd never heard before, and they were fascinating to me. I was surprised I could be in my spiritual tradition so long and never hear the Bible and some of the stories in the way that I was now hearing them.
So what did you do after school? It sounds like you became a minister, and how did you start ministering?
Well, in the beginning, I was a chaplain, and I worked, and I see some of what, in the situation I work now, similarly in a way. I mean, dealing with like the hurting places in the world in a healthcare institution, with people with trauma and all kinds of difficult things that we're facing with crisis in health and all, and death and dying. And in that time, you know, just I think realizing the importance of having a spiritual foundation in those moments and having spiritual companions at times like that was really important. And so that's what I did for about 10 years. And then I got involved in as an associate pastor in a progressive Methodist church in Omaha that was really kind of shaking things up around the role of gay and lesbian people in the church and ordination and marriage. So that congregation was a lot of fun.
When you were going to school, it sounds like some of the work that you did in your role was sort of social work. It was helping people link them up with spiritual services or whatever. Was that something that was taught, or did you learn on the fly, or how did that happen?
Well, you know, as you're in it, you know, it's sort of like if you're interested in the whole person, it's hard, you know, it all becomes one. It's not like there's social work and then there's church, or there's the spiritual, and then there's the tangible needs. They're all interrelated. And so so when people are together and care for each other and know each other, you can't just ignore those things.
Excellent. So at some point then you came out to sunny California and are landed in, what, San Jose?
Yeah. Actually, I came out here to take the job as pastor of First Christian Church in downtown San Jose. Oh. And when I heard a lot about it in the interviewing process across the country, but when I came here and saw that it was like right next to City Hall, kind of our parking, actually City Hall had to buy some of our land to build there in downtown San Jose, and right next to the King Library and the campus, and really in this vibrant kind of urban center, I was really interested in coming here and being part of the work that the congregation was doing around homelessness and poverty, and being a kind of prophetic witness for justice in the community too. And so I was, you know, I was really actually about to leave church stuff and go into nonprofit work. Oh. And so when I heard about this congregation, it seemed like a great place to do both. And so that's how I ended up out here with this great group of people.
So the First Christian Church is, as I understand it, a home for the Recovery Cafe. Tell us a little bit about the concept of the Recovery Cafe. Who thought of it? Where did it come from? Well,
there were some of us who were figuring we needed to do some of the work we were doing in a little different way. And so we had some people we knew of that lived in Seattle. And it was just a little group of people sort of like us who had hatched this idea of a place called Recovery Cafe, and we had heard a little about it. So we got on a plane, 3 of us, and went and saw it, and we were amazed at the kind of community they were creating that was really innovative and unique. It was like a place for people to belong, but yet they could get a lot of support for their needs, recovery needs, their social needs, their economic needs. And so so we said, hey, this is incredible. I can't imagine doing it better. Could you guys teach us? And they said, they said they'd be really honored to teach us the model. And so they've been our mentors, and they've been down here, and they've spoken at our breakfast before, the founders of the Seattle Recovery Cafe. It's an amazing place.
So the model that you have brought down to San Jose was established there, was conceived there, established, and has been up and running for a while?
Yeah, they've been up and running 10 years now, and they started with a couple of staff and a good handful of volunteers, just like us now. And now 10 years later, you know, they have impacted so many lives. They run about 400 members all the time and have recovery circles, 45 different ones every week, where people are really there for each other over time, sharing the big successes and the challenges of life in recovery, and really being community for each other. Some of the people up there have been members the whole time, 10 years,
Wow.
because that's like their home, it's their people, it's the place they belong. And it's really neat to see people find that and come and give back for the new people who come in.
Is the Recovery Cafe Seattle housed in a church setting? Or is
No.
it different?
It never was. Actually, their small congregation never actually wanted to own a building, and they just want their work to be own the building. And so they actually launch it and free it up to go on in the community in a way that's always going to outlast the congregation. And so so they have now a big piece of property that's a block, covers a whole block right in downtown Seattle. Near Denny Way and Boren, and it's a beautiful building, and the community's really, the whole Seattle community has really been behind it and donated millions of dollars to give the people of Seattle a beautiful, warm environment that's theirs to be in for as long as Recovery Cafe lasts.
Is it situated in an analogous situation like San Jose? You're describing being sort of in an urban area has associated populations and folks that are looking and maybe would be coming to the church anyway.
Yeah, and they're there just now. They have this presence because they have their own building that's completely theirs, and people know a lot about the Recovery Cafe there. So so they come in and they have like a lunch and dinner, and they have an espresso bar where they have latte hour in the afternoon, and they have their groups they go to and classes, ways to volunteer and support other members, and help support the running and operating of the cafe, so people have a place who are members to eat and to share life together during the day when they're between maybe their job or when they're unemployed and looking for work, or different times in their lives. It's a place where they can have really positive friends. You see people, you know, coming in, hugging each other, having lunch together, and then going off to some of the things that are helping them grow.
Wow, that sounds pretty exciting. And it sounds like what you're doing is taking a model that has gone through some growing pains on its own and maybe come in down the road so some of those issues don't have to be recreated.
Yeah, and where we are in San Jose, you know, we're in this, I think a lot of people know the challenges. It's really been in the news about the challenges of homelessness in San Jose. And downtown, you know, we feel it, I think, very, very strongly, the need to really connect with the people who are outside there and really see how we can actually be in this together.
Yeah, great. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we'll learn more about Recovery Cafe San Jose.
Hello, my name is Jerry McNerney. I'm the newest elected member of the United States Congress from Northern California. I represent the 11th Congressional District. I got involved in politics because my son encouraged me to do so. I'd never thought about doing that before in my life. And here I am now in Congress helping to change the direction of our country. If you would like to get involved in your country, we need you, we need your help, the community needs you. Please contact your local Democratic Party at 408-445-9500 and help make a difference. Thank you.
Welcome back to Democratic Television and our guest, the Reverend Dana Bainbridge. Dana, we were talking about the Recovery Cafe and recovery. What is recovery? What does that mean to you?
Well, at the cafe, one of the things we say is everybody's recovering from something. So while a lot of folks are struggling with recovery from substance use and addiction, we say that recovery really is more a positive thing as well. It's not just letting go of something, it's actually reclaiming like our gifts and our strengths, restoring, like we're going to restore and reclaim some wood and use it in the cafe, and to do that with our own lives. You know, that we all can kind of use the recovery steps in many respects to to get back some of the things that were damaged through the wounds and hurts that happened. We have a lot of people who have, you know, huge traumas that they've faced in their lives, and healing from those traumas in a way that gives them the courage to face those things is about what recovery is about, and then restoring and reclaiming, you know, the goodness and the fullness of life is what recovery is really all about.
Sounds pretty comprehensive. And come one, come all.
Right.
Within the posted hours, of course.
Well, sure, sure.
And so how does the Recovery Cafe work? You are open certain hours, and I know the goal is to expand the hours as much as possible. But when people come there, they'll have a cup of coffee, have a bagel or a slice of banana bread or something?
So yeah, anyone's welcome at the cafe who wants to be part of a recovery community. And we invite them to come in and check and visit it to learn what it's like, to see if it's for them. So anybody can be a guest anytime to come one time and share a meal or coffee. And then we share what membership is involved, what's involved in membership for them. And that's partly because we want people to be members, not just drop-ins, because we're trying to create community. And we believe that process of recovery, that community and friends and long-term positive relationships is so much of what recovery is about. And so being a member means being drug and alcohol free when you come in, and then being willing to be part of this recovery circle every week that meets to support one another and celebrate successes and engage one another and be there in times of challenges over the long haul. So that's part of what's involved in being part of the cafe.
Well, tell me a little bit more about a recovery circle. What does that look like? Who is in charge? Is anybody in charge?
Well, it's a little different than like a lot of people know about 12-step meetings in relation to recovery. A recovery circle is a little different in that it's facilitated by one of our staff or a trained volunteer who's been in long-term recovery. And part of what we're trying to do in the circle is to create a sense of belonging, a sense of what we call loving accountability, which is a way for the people in the group to let themselves be known, to let the wishes and the dreams of their life be shared with other people witnessing those. And then we sometimes forget and get distracted, you know, when we're on that path. And the group reminds us, just by even being there, we remind each other of what we want for ourselves and what we're seeking in our recovery journey. And so each person defines that for themselves, but the circle is there to kind of hold that for each other, to be there each week. And we have different topics related to recovery that we discuss around those things. But I'm just seeing, as we've been open now, you know, a number of months, how people are really growing to look forward to seeing the people in their group and hearing how things are going, and being, you know, celebrating successes that they make along the way. It's so important to be affirmed in that process.
So a recovery circle has a certain time every week that it meets, like Tuesday at 11, right. And is it the same people that continue to have that bonding process?
Yeah, and that's what we ask people to commit to, being part of the same group. So the main idea of the circle is being known and being cared for. And without the continuity over time, we can't go very deep in that. It's so easy, you know, it's hard for sometimes us to let people really know us. And yet, when people do and care for you, even when they really know you, that's a pretty amazing thing. And
sounds scary to me.
It's a pretty amazing thing, though.
How many circles do you have? How many of these meetings do you have every week? And how big are they? What's an average size?
Right now we have 4 circles at the cafe. We've just been open a few months, and so we anticipate within another year that we'll have around 10 at different times, so that works out for people's schedules. And generally they vary a little bit, but they run from about 8 to 12 people. That's the ideal size of a recovery circle.
And are people coming to the circle sort of from all walks of life, folks that are living on the street to people who may be leaving work to come to the circle, and
yes,
men, women?
Yes. We have people in lots of different transitions. We work with a lot of people in reentry who are coming from incarceration, trying to get back on their feet in the community and trying to do that right away by getting on the right track right off the bat. And so we work with a lot of people in reentry and people who may be struggling with homelessness, and we have people who are working, and we do have some people who've been in long-term recovery who are there, you know, to keep their recovery solid, but also to really help new people coming in and to show them, you know, it's good to have people who've been down the road a ways for people to see what's possible for themselves when they're really maybe struggling to get on that track.
Well, that sounds really great. Yeah. What about programs to help people, you said people who are re-entering society, people who perhaps have been incarcerated? Are there workforce development kinds of programs, or do you have contacts where people can get referred?
Well, we work mostly with community partners who do that really well. And so we have a lot of partners that we can connect people to, and our members help each other a lot with those sort of things. But we also do, in the cafe, we do some job coaching. We help people with resumes. We actually have taken groups of people to job fairs and helped a number of our members get employment. It's really great. We have great celebrations around the cafe when somebody who's been looking for a job for a while gets a job. And so we're a place they can come and they can tell everybody and have people celebrate with them too.
Excellent. You mentioned 12-step programs. And the recovery circles are like that. Do you have other more traditional 12-step programs that are part of the Recovery Cafe, or at least use the facilities?
Well, the Recovery Cafe, a lot of people who come there have benefited from 12-step groups and all. Some people have different paths of recovery than the 12-step process. There are a number of paths on recovery these days. And so at the cafe, we're not on any one of those, but we allow people to utilize any path they've used, and we incorporate principles of recovery that go across the board with those. But outside cafe hours in our building, there are 12-step meetings for people to go to when the cafe is not open. And for people who are really struggling with their recovery, you know, every single day, you know, is important. And so we have Cocaine Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, AA groups, codependence groups. We have Al-Anon, so we have a little bit of everything in our building, but we're growing those programs as well. So
it sounds pretty fantastic to be part of all that, to see all this life-changing and participate in it and help direct it.
I know, and you know, Steve, what's really cool about the cafe that's different than those is it's not anonymous in the sense that the other meetings are. There's a sign on the door when you walk in. People know you're walking into a recovery center, and we're trying to take away a lot of the stigma. There's so much shame and stigma around recovery, and I read recently there's 23 million Americans in recovery who are celebrating their recovery now. And the thing is, that's done a lot in very quietly and somewhat in secret, and it's something to be proud of. I think the people who've gone those journeys, and so we celebrate that, and we do it by sharing life, like by having open mic night. We're having fun together too. So we have a drug and alcohol-free environment on Saturday night once a month where people can share their talents and have fun together. We have a choir, a chorus that sings together, made up of, we call it the Closing the Gap chorus, because we're trying to bring people from the economic spectrum in the Silicon Valley together to sing and to make music together and to celebrate recovery. And so so those are the kind of fun things we do in the cafe. They're a lot different than a social service agency or a 12-step meeting, where we're just sharing life together and bringing the community together.
Wow, this is living color. What kind of celebrations do you have to let the community know what you do? How do you let the business community or labor or others come and help and share your work?
Well, we're working on some better ways to do that, and we hope to be having some coffees down the road once a month where people who just out in the community, our community partners and corporate people might want to be corporate sponsors or philanthropists can come. But we also have an annual breakfast that we do every year called the Closing the Gap Breakfast, where a lot of the community comes together. And we had a great breakfast this year where we honored Mike Fox Sr. and Mike Fox Jr. of Goodwill Industries and Mary Ellen Fox, the Fox family members, for being bridge builders in the community, to bringing all the resources and the support to bring people from the economic spectrum in the community together. And so we were really happy to honor the Fox family and to have 300 other people there with us at that breakfast to say that they are behind the vision of the Recovery Cafe San Jose. It was a great morning for us.
I don't think you get a more committed family than the Fox family.
Yeah.
So it sounds like there's a lot of different things going on there. There's ways that people can get involved. Is there a way that people can contact Recovery Cafe to see what's going on and how they might fit in, whether they may have a family member or a friend who they may want to take there, or they can contribute?
Sure. So if you go to the web, which most people do these days, I guess, and you look up at recoverycafesj.org, you can learn more about us there, find contact information and all, or you can call our phone number at 408-294-2963, and somebody can talk to you about whatever it is you'd like to know and get involved with. Anybody who wants to come for Recovery Community, we welcome you with open arms. But if you want to volunteer, donate, we also have lots of needs in those areas as well. What's
your address?
We're at 80 South 5th Street, right in downtown San Jose.
So you're right near City Hall, right near San Jose State?
Yep.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you very much. This has been very enlightening. I appreciate your sharing your work with Recovery Cafe San Jose. Reverend Dana Bainbridge, great stuff.
Thanks, Steve.
Good. Thanks for watching Democratic Television. Give us a call at 408-445-9500 or visit our website at sccdp.org and help make a difference like Dana Bainbridge. We'll see you on the campaign trail.